Hi, Glenys.
Hey, Aaron. What do you want to talk about today?
How much I hate diets.
Yeah, diets suck.
So what do you do instead of a diet?
Intuitive eating, health at every size.
So how many times have you had to explain intuitive eating and health at every size to someone?
Like 5,000 times. But that was just to my doctor.
Okay, so how many times have you explained it to someone and then they said, but diets are the only thing I know?
That's like every time. Can we pursue health without thinking about weight?
Yes, we can pursue health without thinking about weight.
That's pretty revolutionary, what you just said. But what if you just don't like yourself at the size that you're at?
I think we need to understand why, instead of just saying I need to change.
So, what's the deal with body positivity?
Oh man, that's a long answer. I'm Aaron Flores.
And I'm Glenys Oyston. And we are
Dietitians Unplugged. Welcome back for a very special edition of Dietitians Unplugged. We are super excited. We have a special guest actually in studio. This has never happened before. We have Dr. Linda Bacon, who's been so gracious to join us for a little while and have a conversation about nutrition and bodies and things like that. So, Dr. Bacon, Linda Bacon, thank you for being here.
Oh, it's great to be here. Yeah, for the audience, I actually know Aaron and Glenys from previously. Glenys was an old student of mine years and years and years ago, and it's wonderful to see you again.
My favorite nutrition teacher who changed my life.
Thank you.
So I just want to say we had another nutrition teacher in before. She said the exact same thing. That was her favorite teacher. So just,
not true at all.
Did you get a good grade?
Yes, of course I did.
Okay.
Yes. It was a great class, and it was, like I said, it was life-changing.
No, it's pretty amazing to be able to teach. I
Yeah.
don't teach anymore. In fact, I just recently left that behind. But what an honor to get people who come into class, and what they're expecting is to learn what a carbohydrate is.
Yeah.
And yet there's so much to unpack behind all of those questions about why you care about a carbohydrate.
Yeah.
And to make the connections to our bodies and our attitudes towards eating and all that kind of stuff. And it is so amazing to just have a platform to just open up those questions, start the exploration happening.
Yeah.
And I particularly love the idea of knowing that I'm catching people early on in their explorations, and that many of my ex-students are now working as dietitians today, or psychotherapists, or somehow using the base that I gave them to change the world. And it's just an amazing feeling to be part of that whole process.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm wondering, did, as people came into your class, did they know that they were going to get maybe a different message from what they were going to get? Glenys, did you know?
No, but I remember they had the Rate My Professor that you could look on to see. And the other class was taught by a dietitian who was I think a very traditional dietitian. At the same time I was taking your class, my friend was taking her class. So we would compare, and I don't think that people had a sense of what of course you did teach what a carbohydrate is, and you taught all the basic nutrition stuff. Of course that's there, but then the added side of it, which is, how we feel about food and how that really messes with our world, and it was so revolutionary for me to hear all of that. And I think that the other students in the class were blown away too. That was my sense. And we all came out fight fight the power, fight the food power. So yeah, I don't think they had a sense, but you might know more.
Yeah, well, I definitely know. People just took the course because they needed to either fulfill a requirement or they were just interested in learning about food, but they didn't know where the class was going. I mean, most students were just coming in to learn those very basic things. And I don't think anybody really had a sense of where we were going to head, but the class would just be amazing because when you start asking those basic questions about why you even care what a carbohydrate is.
Yeah.
There is so much to uncover that's so exciting. And it was just so much fun to watch everybody's eyes light up as we started to look deeper into all of those questions.
It also seems like an intimate question on some level. Like food can get very intimate with ourselves. I'm very interested about how you created space for people to explore those intimate answers. Because in a classroom, it tends to be very sterile.
Sure.
So I'm interested how you approach that.
Well, I got to say that was one of the biggest challenges because, well, first off, what do you think is the number one question students have when they come into a nutrition class? What do you think the big thing is that they want to know from this class?
Do you want to answer? I can answer that.
Go for it.
Sure. And
Yeah.
that was always the question I had. And that's why I became a dietitian. How do you lose weight?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So that was there in the background. And it was just a matter of time before somebody in the class would ask that question. And when I think about somebody asking that question, what I'm really sensitive to is how to create a safe environment, because that's one thing I need to do as a teacher. Like, I can't tolerate racism in my classroom, for example. I need to make this a safe environment for everybody. And when you ask the question, how can I lose weight? There's a lot behind that question, because obviously there's an assumption that losing weight is valuable and a good thing, and that thinner is better. And if you're announcing that assumption to everybody, that no longer is a safe environment for the entire class. And that was quite a challenge, because on the one hand, it's a natural question. I understand growing up in this society why everybody is driven to want to lose weight and to assuming it's a good thing, why nobody sees that question as a microaggression, that they just see it as a natural question. And yet, it is a microaggression. It is making a statement and setting up unsafety in the classroom. And figuring out how to navigate that and help people to see their assumptions when they are so well intended and not really aware of those larger issues is really quite a challenge. And I always had to be very sensitive to what was going on in the classroom, how long we'd been together before we were, and how ready we were to tackle all of those issues.
Yeah. Some people might not know. What is a microaggression?
Okay. So a microaggression basically just refers to those little things that you hear that are just acts of aggression against you, that are hurtful to people. And oftentimes, microaggressions are things that the questioner might not even be aware. Like, they might be very well intended in asking their question. So let me give you an example of another microaggression that might make it a little bit more clear. Think about the very basic question, the conversation starter people have. Where are you from? Now, I'm white. English is my first language. When people ask me that question, it doesn't offend me. Like, I can just think about, I can just talk about geographical location. But yet, if you were to ask that same question of somebody who is a person of color, who has had throughout their life this sense of people looking at them as illegitimate and not really belonging here in the United States, and when you ask that question of someone in that situation, for them it might provoke that whole sense of, you feel like I don't belong.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just, hearing that kind of stuff on a regular basis can be very alienating and help people and make people feel very disenfranchised and marginalized.
Yeah.
It's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's the same thing with a microaggression, with that question of around losing weight. Like, certainly larger people get the message every day that there's something wrong with their weight and there's something wrong with them, and that if they were thinner, it would be better. And it's so accepted to see those messages all the time, but yet how it just chips away at people. And it's not just larger people that I want to protect. It's even for the thinner people. You're sending a message to them that in order to get respect in the world, they need to maintain their thinner status. And that puts a lot of pressure on them to think that fat is bad as well. And most thinner people are struggling with their weight as well. So as long as we look at fat as bad, it's not safe for anybody to be in their bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have clients who are struggling with that, normalizing their eating. They're lifetime of dieters, and now they're finally allowing themselves to eat. And some of them gain weight, some of them lose weight, some of them stay the same. The ones that lose weight, they're actually struggling with. People are coming up to me and saying, "Oh, there's something different about you. You look great. You know, did you lose weight?" And it's like they now know that isn't the compliment that they felt it once was. And it's so deflating for them because they're like, here I am working so hard to normalize, you know, my body to myself and my eating. And that's such an undermining message that, hey, great job. And it drives me crazy because it throws their eating off. And it's, you know, it takes them down a peg or two, even though it was meant to be a compliment. And we sort of talk about strategies around like, how can we deal with that? And, you know, what will make you feel better around that? And it might not be confronting the person at that time. It might just be like, let's find ways to think about that,
right,
you know, differently.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I think the interesting thing too is that if we, especially thinking about how people comment on bodies, either to us or just around us, it happens. So, I mean, until you really realize it, it happens all the time. It happens all the time. And, you know, I hear it from people behind me at the supermarket, right? I just hear it all the time. It's pervasive.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I could go back to that question about
please.
how can I lose weight? The other thing that I just think is really important to emphasize to listeners is it makes sense if you have that question. And I don't want to set a space where it's not safe to ask that question either. Because in this culture, it would make sense if people want to lose weight and feel very driven to get there. And I have a lot of compassion for why people feel that way. So I want to also make people feel safe if that's their desire, that they're okay. It makes sense that you feel that way. And I want to be able to support you in how uncomfortable it must be to have that drive and not feel good about yourself and to feel like the only way to get more comfortable is to lose weight.
Yeah.
So what I always like to do is to help people to recognize that they want to lose weight, right? And to try to take a few step backs to see what it is that they think that weight loss is going to give them. And to let people know that, don't worry if you want to lose weight, right? That I know there's ways that you can get what you want, but weight loss might not be the avenue to get what you want. So if we can get people to unpack what's behind their drive to lose weight, we can figure out more direct ways to help them to get it instead of trying something that might not be so good and healthy for them, that we just don't really have a good sense of how to really help people around. But, you know, I don't want people to feel ashamed of the drive to lose weight.
Yeah.
Right. Erin, do you spend some time? I know I've spent some time with clients who are saying like, okay, I'm really appreciating the work we're doing and I'm not binging anymore and I'm feeling so much better around food, but I still feel bad about my body and I still feel like, yes, I have that desire to lose weight. And that's one of the things I try to make sure, and you probably do too, is like, yeah, that's a totally normal response to the society and the culture that we live in. And that might not go away for a long time. And, you know, finding ways to sit with it. And then, like you said, what is it that you want from the weight loss? And going back to that, just because we know how damaging pursuing weight loss is. It's like that's an actual harmful thing you're going to do yourself. So let's talk about what it is that you can find to do that will make you feel better about that. You probably experienced that too.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, the interesting, you said safe space, and whenever it does tend to come up, oftentimes it's coming up now where someone's saying, I'm really sorry to keep coming back to this. Mm-hmm. I'm really sorry that I'm so hung up on this, and I know you're going to get upset at me or something like that. And I tell them, I try to communicate that, no, of course, like, don't be ashamed of that, right? Of course you still might hold that, but it's interesting that that's what they bring to it, right? So the safe space thing, I think, is, to me, really interesting. As dietitians, we are not trained on how to do this at all. Like, I think Glenys and I, have each done our own personal work on it, and maybe some of it's just innate in who we are. But how do you see creating that safe space, helping people create that safe space when we're not trained to do it?
Right. Well, maybe, Aaron, part of the issue is we shouldn't, maybe I was wrong in using the word safe space, and we can reframe it that what we really want to do is create a brave space, which might not necessarily be safe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's helping people to sit with their discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big challenge because people are coming to you wanting to feel better. You want to help them to feel better. But taking them away from pain might not be what's best for them. That, unfortunately, we live in this world where people aren't treated kindly around their bodies. And it makes sense that people would want to lose weight given how larger people are treated. And it takes a lot of courage to be able to sit with the discomfort of living with a body that you might not like, and a body that sets you up for treatment and for not being seen and valued in the world.
Yeah.
And to sit with someone in that discomfort can be really, really painful. And as professionals, we want to run away from that.
Right. No, that's such a great point.
But I think that one of the things that can be so valuable about coming to a health professional like a dietitian is that the dietitian can at least reflect back that the problem is not in you as an individual. The problem is a cultural problem. But yet you still have to deal with your individual feelings about that and what it's like for you. And all I can do for you, or one of the big things I can do for you, is just show you the love and acceptance and that you're okay. And I can be one of the people in your life that gives that to you.
Yeah.
And maybe that can help you to get more confidence in going out in the world if you know that you have this ground and safer place to come back to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we have our brave space. That's gonna sit in my brain for a little bit and ping back and forth in a really good way.
Yeah. I heard that term last year from Desiree Attaway at BETA for the first time.
Right.
I was like, oh, that feels like it actually makes more sense.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find safety. But the brave space is where we're going to be able to have that discomfort and sit with it is useful, actually. And I mean, the number of clients I have where it's like, I can't fix this pain for you, but I'm going to sit here with you and let's just have it, and this is a crappy world we live in, a diet culture that we live in that is making you feel this way. And I can't fix the culture. I can't solve that problem. So we're just going to have to kind of sit with it and try to have compassion around, of course you feel this way and that's normal.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you, once, I think the other thing that is very interesting to me is sort of learning our own narratives and our own stories and our own lived experiences. And from your experience, when we do that, how does that affect our knowledge of, what is really good for us, right? What food really resonates with us? Like, how does that resonate with us? How does that happen for us?
I can see you are really, really good at the work that you do, Aaron, because I think you're really getting at the heart of the issue here. And I love that you want to come back to people's lived experience, because I think one of the most important gifts that we can give to our clients is supporting them in the awareness that they don't need to be dependent on you as a professional to teach them about their bodies, that they are the best experts of their own body. So, for example, that whole issue of people's drive to diet and to lose weight, you can help your clients to just reflect back on their personal experience of how that drive has served them. And everybody's got their personal experience of knowing how the drive to lose weight has also caused a lot of pain for them. And they've spent a lot of time feeling like a failure. They've tried really hard doing all the things that professionals and the government is telling them they're supposed to do, like diet and exercise, and that was supposed to help them to lose weight.
Yeah.
And in the end, it hasn't gotten them where they want to go. But the problem is that they've been blaming themselves instead of blaming the ideas they've been taught about weight. So locked inside your clients is this very deep knowledge that the drive to lose weight has actually been quite painful for them.
Yeah.
So if you can help them to recognize that, then that can help them to get out of the pain.
Yeah.
Then they can see that it's not that losing weight is going to save them. It's the drive to lose weight that is causing the pain.
Yeah. Yeah. So the sometimes what happens next is there's anger, right? Which justifiably, right?
Exactly.
So is there a way to fuel that anger instead of letting it fester, right? And sort of like saying, some people take that anger and then give up, right? But that anger can sort of be fueled for doing something really positive.
Right. Well, hey, that anger is part of why the three of us know one another.
Right.
Because we've come together as community of recognizing all the lies that we've been told and that we want to be part of a different world.
Yeah.
A world that's more respectful and compassionate. So we've used our anger at the system to, number one, bond, and number two, to envision what a different world can look like.
Yeah.
But certainly, I think anger is an important part of that journey. And particularly the anger at which those outside messages got us to be complicit in our own oppression. That we bought into that, and then we started doing all this harm to our bodies through dieting. And so we get angry at ourselves for the way we've been duped, and angry at a world that played a role in pushing us to disconnect from ourselves and, to lose our sense of compassion and, our belief that who we are is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I love being part of, a different culture which says that who you are is enough, that you are just wonderful and beautiful. And I want to help you to see that because I see that in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the key to me is also having anger and compassion, because sometimes they don't really go together.
Right.
And this is why I also love Star Wars. Just something to know about me, and why Glenys doesn't like Rogue One. This is a whole nother offshoot. But anyways, it's all about a rebellion, right? Joining a rebellion. And I think what's interesting is when you say sort of is community is, so we're in LA recording this right now. And I imagine the person who is in a smaller town, maybe not in a bigger city, and there's so much less of a community. And I'm wondering how important that community part is to healing.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the one hand, I want to say that I think local community is wonderful. And on the other hand, I want to say I don't have that so much. That much of my close relationships are like international, you know?
Yeah.
And I wish that I had the local friends, you know? I watch TV programs and people are hanging out with their besties. And, you know, it's like, is that real life? Does that still happen when we become adults? I'm so jealous of people for whom that occurs.
Yeah, it doesn't happen to me.
Erin's my only friend. No.
Yeah.
That's not true, but I know, the feeling,
This is a call out to my Bay Area local people, you know. I need you more in my life. I miss that. And I also want to say that, so if you're not near a place where you've got that local community, there's other ways that you can find the support and love that you need. And I've gotten that. And like, for example, you mentioned, Aaron, that you and I met at a conference.
Mm-hmm.
So we met someplace where people were exploring these ideas and there was community.
Yeah.
And then you keep in touch with these people and you build it. And there is just an incredible international community of people that are involved in this.
Yeah.
So I just want to really encourage people to just get involved and you'll find places and spaces.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying about compassion, I think so many of my clients struggle with finding that compassion for themselves. Do you have some words on that of how people even begin to find that thread of compassion for themselves?
Yeah, I struggle with that myself. And so I've come up with all kinds of little tools and techniques that work for me personally. And I think everybody's got to explore their own avenues. But one of the techniques that I use that's pretty helpful is, first off, I do have a very loving, amazing wife. And one of the things that I think is most amazing about our relationship is she is that safe space for me. So I can go home and I can be a flawed person and talk about my mistakes and the bad feelings that come up for me. And she sits there with me and she just reflects back compassion. So here I am right now. I'm away from home, traveling. And yesterday, I did some public speaking and 6 hours of being on, which is just really draining, right? And what always happens to me when I speak is there's this adrenaline rush that happens. And speaking actually was amazing. The audience community that developed, it was just, I had such a fantastic experience doing it. And it got reflected back to me that it worked for the audience as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, that standing ovation that went on forever. I mean, that was such an amazing thing to feel that. Right? So here I'm getting reflected back that I did good. But there's always something that happens to me after I speak where I imagine it's in large part fueled by hormones, right? So there's the adrenaline rush that happens, and then there's this sharp crash. And last night I experienced that sharp crash where I went into this really deep, dark place, even though I had all of this reinforcement that everything was good. And so what I did was, I first tried to call my partner because I knew she would help me, but unfortunately she was out. So I had to give it to myself. So I just imagined being with her. And I imagined what she would say to me. And so I let her offer up that compassion to me. And that, just knowing that, just made me feel a little bit safer and better in the moment. So, you know, if I were to just, I know that was kind of a long story, but, you know, like the summary is that think about what somebody else would offer up to you or what you might offer up to a friend, and then try to transfer that over to yourself.
Yeah.
I remember reading Judith Matz's book.
It's beautiful.
Diet Survivor's Handbook. And she talked about, I think it was in that book, or it was that or another, the Ellen Glovsky book, I'm not sure, but talking about imagine a child was with you and that child was asking you for something like food or whatever, would you deny that child something? And I thought that was such a great sort of, it externalizes your need and puts it there where you can see it in a way. And I thought that was such a great way to be able to say, oh, this is what I need. Okay, so how will I give it to myself? Would I deny myself what I need? Yeah. But I think that's great that you were able to imagine your partner and your wife and get that, what you needed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to just plug your website. You have some great videos on there. Can you? What's your website that people can go to?
Well, I've got two websites. Well,
okay.
Actually, I've got more than two. But,
okay.
The one website that people might want to check out is lindabacon.org.
Okay.
And what you want to do when you head over there is go over to the resources page. And I have posted hundreds of different things that I have written. So you'll probably find topics that are of interest to you there. That's one possibility. And also, I mentioned to you that I recently left academia behind, and now I'm speaking and writing full time. And so I created a new website called lindabaconspeaks.com. And if you head on over to that, you can find out a little bit more about my speaking gigs. And I really want to encourage people to get on my list someplace. Like I have a newsletter that I don't send out very frequently, just every few months or so. So don't worry about getting inundated. I'm also on Twitter and Facebook. And what I expect to do is to offer more of the kind of workshops that I'm doing now, but that I'll run them. Like right now, I'm waiting for other people to hire me, so they can do all the promotion. But I want to go back to doing weekend and 5-day trainings to help people to build community and work with their own process around this. So I really want to encourage people to hook up with me somehow and pay attention.
Yeah.
And you'll be hearing about some of the stuff that I'll be doing. And maybe we can meet in person, because I really, really want to be building more community and supporting people on working through these issues. Both, I want to help people who are working with this kind of stuff professionally, and also people working on their own personal processes around these.
Well, we'll put links to those in our show notes so everyone can go in there and sign up for the newsletter and stay abreast of what's going on.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So we just want to thank you for coming all this way to the Dietitians Unplugged studio to hang out with us in person. This is a thrill for us. To have you here in person.
Maybe you'll sign the wall. Isn't that what like people do in like big record studios, like sign the wall? Yeah.
You can sign the wall.
My landlord would love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much.
It's delightful to be here. And I'm so impressed with the work that you two are doing, and I'm honored to be here. So thank you.
Thank you for listening. This has been another Dietitians Unplugged production. You can find Aaron at bvmrd.com, and you can find Glenys at daretonotdiet.com.